We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball!
To the end zone! Oregon! Mariota dives! Touchdown! They hand it off straight out! C.J. Verdell wins the game for Oregon!
Inside the 10! A hat-trick, a touchdown from Justin Herbert! Howard's going to run for it. Time runs out, and that'll do it! Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon! They storm the field at Autzen!
All right, Duck fans, here we go. Welcome into another edition of the Ducks Rising Alumni Corner. I am joined, as always, by my co-host and good friend Travis Rooke-Ley, and this week we have the absolute pleasure of bringing on everyone's favorite color analyst, a very close family friend of mine, the one and only Mike Jorgensen. Jorgy, how you doing, man?
Guys, great to be on. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate the opportunity to join you. So
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mike. As someone who grew up in Eugene like Zach, can think of a lot of radio calls from back in the day and everything. So it's just a pleasure to have you on. I know we don't want to talk a lot of Penn State today, but being that this is the Alumni Corner, I know you're obviously a former Oregon quarterback, famously a player in the notorious Toilet Bowl back in the day, and obviously now a color analyst, alongside Jerry Allen. Like, what's it been like just watching the evolution of Oregon football from your playing days to now?
it's been unbelievable. I mean, obviously to see the early '80s struggles that we had, and to begin to turn it about the time that Chris Miller got on the field, 83, 84-ish, on through Bill Musgrave into the 90s, and then on beyond. It's just been really fun to be able to see, for me, 44 years is what it's been since 1981 and 37 as a broadcaster, to be intimately involved with this program, to see the different coaching staffs, the tremendous student athletes that we've seen come through at the University of Oregon. Some real high points, very few low points. It's been quite a transformation, no doubt about it, to be able to see where they were and where we were, frankly, in the early 80s all the way to 2025 and today. And, it's pretty amazing. And the high-level student athletes coming through, let alone just some tremendous coaches and athletic staff and that type of deal. It's just been really a blessing to be part of it all these years and enjoying it into the future. Who knows how long, but it's been a lot of fun.
So I've got to ask you, Jerry has told us the hilarious story of you hiding under the desk during your first broadcast when it was a close game. That's one of my favorite stories of all time. Do you have any good Jerry stories? Do you want to get back at him real quick for kind of telling that one on you?
Jerry's stories are more related to food on the plane. See, we used to fly. He loves ice cream, and he eats a lot of ice cream. He doesn't eat as much anymore, but in his heyday, which isn't too long ago, he ate a lot of ice cream bars on our away trips. And so what would happen is we happened to be flying Delta Airlines at the time, was who the university contracted with. And there was this guy, basically the gentleman that was in charge of the flight altogether, support staff and everybody goes with it for Delta. And his name was Don. So Delta Don, obviously, which is a famous, country song way back, even beyond my time. But what they would do is he would eat so many ice cream bars, so many Dove bars during our trips on the way there and on the way back, that what they would actually do when we got ready to get off the plane is they brought dry ice to be able to pack the bag with ice cream bars and dry ice, and then would send him home with like 15 or 20 Dove bars after he'd already eaten half dozen on the way back and on the way there. So we went through the other day and totaled up the amount of ice cream bars that he ate, thinking, realistically, there's probably 6 per trip, 6 away trips, 36 a year. You go 360 times 10, and he's on his 40th year. So that's like 1,500. We're on basically 1,500 ice cream bars during his career that he's eaten on the trip. So that's my Jerry Allen. We have fun during the games, but it's food. He is famous for his food, going on 1,500 ice cream bars in his career. So,
God, I love that. That's great.
Beyond the ice cream talent that Jerry clearly has there been a trip, a game, a memory that kind of stands out in your mind that you've had from just calling games together over the years, home, away, just like something that speaks
there's
to you?
always there's always a few. I mean, where I really go back to, and some of the calls that I love to be able to go back to, and frankly, Google and take a look at is, in the heyday, I don't want to say in the heyday, in the early 2011, 12, 13, 14 Marcus Mariota days, when Chip Kelly's offense was running at high octane. Obviously, we all had a chance to experience that with DeAnthony Thomas, Michael James, and all of the different skill players and defensive players and that type of deal. But it was big play after big play after big play in big games. And just to think about some of the calls that took place, whether it was his statement call when LaMichael James broke it up the middle and went 75, 80 yards against Stanford to seal the deal against the Cardinal, whether it was some of his plays against the Beavers in 2014 that ended up with basically a national championship appearance, or even in the undefeated season of 2010 when Oregon went on to play Auburn in the championship game. Just that seems to be, for some reason, the era that sticks with me the most in relation to remembering his calls, how important they were, the type of calls, and the excitement behind his voice that just made a Jerry Allen call a Jerry Allen call.
Yeah, I think Travis and I have talked before that at least my favorite, and I think Travis said his was too, was that 2010 Civil War game, that call that, they're going to play in the national championship game. Like, that one still gives me chills thinking about that.
Yeah, breaking down at the end.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, it was one of those ones where I can remember being down in the locker room in the Oregon State, or in Oregon's locker room in the Oregon Gill Coliseum. And when he began to break down, I think he was waiting for somebody to chime in. And we had all broken down too, so we couldn't talk. Nobody could talk. And we had about 15, 20 seconds of dead silence because everybody had tears in their eyes, the fact that they'd had an undefeated season and knew that you were going to be taking on Cam Newton and the Auburn Tigers in a championship game.
So earlier you mentioned, over 40 years of being tied to this program in some way, 37, I think you said, as a broadcaster. What are some of the biggest differences about this team that you necessarily didn't see coming? Like you saw this team when it was at the lowest of the lows. Could you have ever imagined that they would get to where they are right now? What are some of those differences that you see now, and it's kind of just a stark contrast?
Gosh, I don't know if we have time to talk about all those. I mean, NIL is a big difference, right? Yeah. I mean, I never thought in my wildest dreams growing up that it would come to this point where NIL is so involved in the process. But remove that, facilities, first of all. It's just unbelievable when I close my eyes and I think about a weight room in the east end of Autzen Stadium, kind of underneath the stands where it used to be. And of course, as an 18 to 21-year-old, I thought it was big. I thought it was huge. And, really compared to what it is nowadays, it's just completely different. I mean, it's just not what it used to be. And so it's one of those ones where I think about facilities. Facilities are just an amazing part of that. The level of student athlete these days, the type of student athlete that they're recruiting, not just the athleticism, but the character and the type of student athlete that they are, the citizen that they are in this community, how they contribute, to the community and what's going on, I think is always really an important part of it. But, the size and the speed of the guys, and they're ready made to play now. They're not 2 or 3 year projects. They don't come in and you figure they're going to play as a junior. They come in as a defensive lineman, 6'3", 230, and you got to beef them up to 285 to play. They come ready to play now, and they're well prepared. As we're seeing this year with a lot of the true freshmen and redshirt freshmen playing at a high level, it's just completely different. It just is. So facilities and the speed and the size of the student athlete is just completely different than it used to be, and it's fun to see. It's fun to try to compare as to who were on the teams that I played with and the players that I played with, teammates, that would be able to compete at this level. There's not very many. I mean, maybe Chris Miller, just because he was such an unbelievable athlete overall. Gary Zimmerman, the Hall of Famer, I would say. Anthony Newman. Those are some guys maybe would fit into the groups these days, but not very many. Not very many.
I still remember Chris Miller trying to sell me creatine smoothies down at South Eugene High.
Yeah, we knew Chris Miller well.
I hadn't thought about him in a while. I think, Jorgy, part of what made that call from Jerry in 2010 so special was that it like encapsulated that feeling so many of us had of like, holy cow, we finally made it. Was there I think Jerry himself spoke to that 94 Wheaton call and beating Washington as this moment. Was there a moment for you in that transition where you were like, wow, we really have a chance to become this program? Or was it just kind of a gradual series of steps, like you mentioned, of facilities and investments and different things?
Yeah, I think for me it was more gradual. It wasn't any one play, frankly, that I would look at and go, okay, it was the Kenny Wheaton interception that really catapulted this program into significance and on the national stage. It just was that gradual piece, because as much as you took a step forward in that Rose Bowl year and Kenny Wheaton's interception, there were some backward steps before they got to the early 2000s and with Joey Harrington and the Fiesta Bowl, appearance and beyond that. So, there was the back and forth, but you could just see them kind of chipping away at being, a nationally recognized team, kind of a feared team in that early 2000s period. And again, there was a Sun Bowl here and there, and there was some others like that, but it just seemed to be moving exponentially in big steps, I guess I would say, going forward in the 2000 to 2010 time period. And then it took that big leap forward with Marcus and that crew. Not to say there wasn't some steps back just soon after that, but consistently it's been since the early 2000s, I think. But, again, 95 didn't really feel like this is it, gosh. This is the difference between what we used to be and what we are now. It was just one of those years I think we had a chance to enjoy. We frankly thought that was the only Rose Bowl we would ever be at. Against Penn State, who we play this week. And I remember Jerry and I walking into the Rose Bowl that particular year, and, we just were blown away. I mean, it's just like, oh, God, this is like what it's like. And we hope one day we'll have a chance to be able to return. Well, they've been to a lot of those and a lot of others, too. So it's been pretty amazing.
Let's talk about this year. It can be kind of hard to assess this team through the first 4 games because they've played, not great competition. All due respect to their opponents, but what have you liked so far that you've seen? And, what are some things in your mind that need to still improve going forward?
Well, what I like about this team is they've done exactly what they're supposed to do against the teams that they played. You're supposed to dominate. I know oftentimes fans, and sometimes I'm a fan. I'm not just a broadcaster. I'm a fan at heart. Is you want to dominate from the first play to the last play and everywhere in between, and have it be a no-doubter. Don't want any struggles. You don't ever want to not score on the first drive of the game, which is pretty amazing. Like at Northwestern, where it was like, oh, what's wrong with this team? No, there's nothing wrong with the team. So they've done what they're supposed to do against the teams that they played. Montana State, Oklahoma State, on the road at Northwestern, and against the Beavers. They've done exactly what they're supposed to do. So I've been really impressed with that. I've been impressed with the youth and the level of play. When I say youth, I would say true freshmen. Finney and some of the others that are starters essentially as true freshmen. And it helps when they arrive in the spring to be able to get 15 practices in before they enter the fall practices. But just the high level of play from the young guys, which just adds to the depth, which is absolutely what you need in this league as you begin to pound on teams like Penn State and Indiana. Looked fantastic this last week. Week after week, you're going to be going against some skilled and very physical type of teams. And so to be able to supplement it with some of those young guys, the two things I guess I would say, to answer your question, done exactly what you're supposed to do against the teams that you played, just taking them behind a woodshed. And number two, just the young guys that have played at such a high level and are going to have to continue to play at a high level. It's just been really impressive.
So moving to this week with a little Penn State talk. I know you've obviously called games and traveled to a lot of probably awesome environments over your time. What's your level of anticipation just getting to experience the whiteout Saturday night?
Well, it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of Big Ten stadiums and venues I've been to over that amount of time that I've been doing this, but not Penn State. There's going to be a couple, 2 or 3 this year that I've not been to before. And Penn State, obviously one of the biggest ones, and to be part of the whiteout game is going to be really cool. Just to see that atmosphere, to see how Oregon responds to that atmosphere, to see how they play against a team that's going to be 2 steps up, frankly. And no disrespect for anybody to anybody that they've played so far, but 2 steps up. Size and speed is going to be completely different than anything they've seen, and they need to be prepared for that. I think they get to see it week in and week out against their own defense, but oftentimes you don't go full speed, full contact against your own defense. You want to save your guys for the game when Saturday gets here. So I think that's going to be fun, is to be able to see that atmosphere. Penn State's going to feed off their home crowd just like Oregon does when they're in Autzen Stadium. How the team responds to that type of atmosphere, because a lot of the guys have never been in that type of situation before. And as long as they are not mesmerized by the whiteout, number one, as long as they're ready from play one to play physical, fast football, I think they're going to do just fine. But that's the biggest difference about this week. And again, really looking forward to seeing that venue, traveling to Pennsylvania. I've never been to the state, so I get to check a couple of states off that I've never been to this year. And this should be a real fun one, I think, for Duck fans and for Penn State fans, too.
Penn State, like Oregon, has played practically nobody on their schedule. Their strength of record is even worse than Oregon's, which is kind of hard to believe. But, what have you learned about them? What stands out about them as you've done your prep for this game? What do you like about them? Where do you think Oregon can kind of find some success?
Well, they continue to be a physical team. I mean, that's one thing they're going to be, and I would guess that based on the results of the Big Ten championship, maybe some things that they've seen in different spots in Oregon's first few games, the physicality of wanting to run the ball against Oregon, to attack Oregon's run defense right off the bat, to make Drew Aller more effective. Because if you can run it, you're going to be able to throw it. Oregon's done that, and they proved that this year with the balance of pass and run, and they complement each other. That's what I've seen with Penn State so far. But again, what I have seen and continue to see is just the way that those running backs, 2 running backs that Oregon saw last year in the Big Ten championship, and a quarterback, no Tyler Warren, thank you, but 2 running backs that are really good. And so what Penn State has done against, regardless of who they've played, is they've done exactly what they're supposed to do: score points, play great defense. That's what Oregon has done in their first 4 games. And it's going to be interesting how these 2 teams respond and how they play against each other. I mean, turnovers may end up being the biggest part of it. Oregon's not turned it over. Penn State hasn't turned it over. So you make a mistake here or there from a turnover standpoint, lose a possession or get a short field, may be the difference in the game. But I think these 2 teams are really evenly matched.
You mentioned the Big Ten title game last year, obviously a rematch here. As just someone who's spent time around the program and been in a locker room before, I mean, how much can you take from a matchup like that, which in terms of time wasn't that long ago, but I know in terms of Oregon's roster, for example, like obviously looks completely different year to year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Tyler Warren was, and I hate to maybe put Penn State's offense on one guy, but he was such a huge impact on the way that their offense operated. You had, he was that alpha, and they had some other alphas too, but he was such a high-level alpha that you had to pay so much attention to him that everybody else benefited from Tyler Warren be there. So, they've returned a lot of guys on defense. They've got some pretty good skill guys on offense, obviously with Kyron Hudson, the transfer from USC, Pena, the Syracuse wide receiver, punt returner transfer. They've been able to fill some voids that I think, frankly, their strength last year was Tyler Warren and the running backs. Now they've got the running backs and a couple of really good wide receivers. So you can learn a lot from that game, I think, because Oregon operated their offense pretty well. But, Oregon, think about it. Think about all the production that Oregon has lost on offense that was part of that game, whether it was Tez, whether it was Dylan Gabriel, whether it was Terrence Ferguson, whether it was Trayshawn Holden. I mean, all this production that Oregon is trying to fill right now, and I think doing a good job of it. So what you learned from that game last year, you got to stop the run. I mean, I know I harp on it every week with Joey McMurray and with Jerry Allen. You have to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to stop the run. And in this game, those two things are not going to be any more important than, it's going to be more important than ever that you have to run the ball and you have to stop the run, I think, to have a great chance against this Penn State team.
Your answer to this question may be what you just said, but it's a simple question. Oregon wins the game if they do what? And Oregon loses this game if they do what?
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
I think you just said it.
Yeah. You win if you run the ball effectively. You lose if you can't defend the run. And I just think it's going to come down to those two things right there because it's physicality. It's all about the physicality piece of it, whether it's wide receivers walking like they've done so far this season, Decorian Moore and everybody else. But it all starts in the trenches. The big uglies got to perform this game, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they handle it.
So, Jorgy, not sure if you're allowed to give a score prediction, but if you can't, we'll just ask for a feeling. What's your gut say heading into this one? Where are you at?
Well, I'm not a predict-the-score guy, so thanks for asking the question. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm not a predict-the-score guy, but I think it's going to be a one-touchdown game one way or the other. I think both teams are going to have a hard time getting to 30 because of how good their defenses play and how well their defenses play. As explosive as these offenses are, I think the defenses are just that much better. So it's going to come down to one score, and all it takes is a turnover or a late game, big play type of situation to make the difference between these two teams. But I can't wait. I can't wait to see two top 10 teams go at it on being featured nationally, ESPN Game Day. The whiteout, that's just a blast to watch on TV, so I can't wait to see what it looks like in person. Again, two quality teams. I think it's going to be really close.
Yeah, I think we all share that same sentiment. All right, let's wrap it up there. Jorgy, thank you so much for coming on with us. I know that Travis and I are both going to be out there. Travis is going to enjoy the whiteout. I'll come and find you in the press box somewhere. And I just, like you said, I can't wait. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on and helping us preview this game.
Hey, glad to hear you guys are going to get to enjoy it too. So look forward to seeing you back east, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jorgy.